Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Multifamily with the amazing Veena Jetti. Thank you for coming today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And today we're going to talk about a scenario when there's no supply. Because right now we have seen in single-family homes that there's a low supply of homes. What about multifamily? What's the current situation for multifamily?
Yeah, I think that the challenge we're facing across real estate sectors on the residential and the commercial residential side is that we don't have much of a supply and we are in need. There's so much more demand than there is supply. Even for the coming few years, there's not enough supply to meet the demand, especially in our core markets, which is, the Sunbelt states and then Arizona. There's just not enough supply and they're not building them fast enough. And with inflation, we are seeing even less supply being created. So it's going to be interesting to see how multifamily tries to solve the problem that we're facing as of today.
Do you guys have enough supply for multifamily though?
Never. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. For now, in our core markets, no, we don't have enough supply. And this is something we look at. We look at absorption rates. We look at how many new permits are in any of the areas that we're buying existing assets. So when we go into an asset, we acquire an asset, I want to know, are there going to be 10 other buildings coming up in the course of a year that are going to compete with us and charge like a free month's rent, and then basically the Class A asset or the brand new asset that's coming up, is their rent going to be equivalent to where I want to push my rent to? Because that's going to cause a problem for me when I go to try to increase the rent on our assets. So we're very, very mindful of what other product is coming up around us. We can do that by, or we can kind of plan for that by looking and seeing how many permits are pulled, what the delivery estimation is of units around us. And so we want to make sure we have a much higher demand for product than we have product coming up in any of our markets.
That's right. And I feel like it also, when having all of these different Class A buildings, some people may feel inclined to go to those ones instead of like a Class B. So what are some of the other factors that affect changing a building from a Class A into a Class B?
So we wouldn't change a Class A to a Class B. We want to go the other way, right? We want to make the Class B the Class A, not vice versa. But we really care about the location, right? Because I can't move a multifamily building from a Class B location to a Class A location. But I can take a Class B building and add some amenities or revitalize it to bring it up to B plus or an A minus asset. So I can change the building itself. But what you're really looking for is when you have new units coming up. So let's say I plan to charge after I renovate and, improve the asset, whatever. Let's say I plan to charge $1,700. And then let's say I know that there is a brand new asset coming up across the street from me and they're going to charge $1,800. Well, now all of a sudden I have kind of a problem, right? Because for $100 more, you can get the new building with new features, with smart home packages, and maybe there's better amenities and it's just nicer. And so now I'm going to be in trouble. Right. But if I know I'm charging $1,700 and I know that asset is going to charge $2,200, well, guess what? Now I have tenants that are going to come in there and say $2,200, I can't or I don't want to afford that. And they're going to come and see my asset at $1,700 and they're going to say, all right, you know what? I don't really need an elevator because I'm going to be on the first floor anyway. $1,700, I'm saving $500 a month. That's totally worth it for me. So you want to make sure you're planning appropriately with what is coming up in the area versus what is already existing there and what your plans are compared to what competition in the future would look like.
Gotcha. And would that competition in the future be able to change your building and downgrade it from like a Class A into a Class B? Because I feel like all of these new buildings would come up with like all of these new features. Wouldn't that decrease the value on?
Yeah, so generally we're buying Class B already. It wouldn't necessarily, a Class A product wouldn't downgrade my building from a Class B to a Class C. What it would really do likely is attract, as long as the delta in their rent and my post-renovated rent is large enough, it'll likely attract some higher quality tenants for our asset. But, there's always the issue of if there's not enough of a delta, it would not downgrade your building, but it would cause more vacancy or less tenants to want to live at your building versus their building.
Gotcha. And with all of these new constructions, have you seen more new constructions coming into these big cities that you're investing
Absolutely.
on? And how is that affecting your current assets?
It really isn't, because there's still not enough, even with all of the new assets that are being built. We still don't have enough to serve the amount of demand, because we have a lot of influx into the states and the cities that we serve. And our areas, there's just a lot of migration, a lot of population growth, a lot of job diversity and job stability. And new jobs are being added to the cities that we're in every single day. And so what we want to do is we want to be in areas where they're trying to solve that problem, but maybe haven't quite gotten to the area where they're at equilibrium and they have enough supply. So as of right now, we're not even close to solving the demand issue.
Oh, wow. Right now, the prices are going crazy for single family homes.
Yes.
What about the prices for multifamily units? How is the price changed?
Crazy. It's still crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And how do you guys make it for like still investing in all of these areas then?
Yeah, so this is where the entire market comes into play, right? You can't just look at any one thing and then decide if an investment makes sense or not. You have to look at it holistically. So replacement cost or replacement value of multifamily assets, meaning what it would cost for us to build the asset today, is still significantly higher than what it costs for us to acquire the asset today. And so as long as there's a healthy delta there, it still makes sense to acquire the asset from that one slim view. Now, on top of that, like I had said in some other discussions we've had, is that our leverage points are lower when interest rates are higher. So maybe instead of leveraging to 75%, we're now leveraging to 55% or 60% or whatever that number is. But when we're not leveraging as high, it causes our returns to come down slightly. So those are things to just note when you're investing in multifamily.
Yeah, it's one of the many factors that you look at when analyzing that deal before you even purchase that deal.
Yes.
Another of the numbers that I remember you mentioned when it was the cap rate.
Yes.
And that's also super important to have into one of the many factors that you analyze.
Yes.
But when it comes to the cap rate, what is affecting the cap rate?
So generally speaking, we know cap rates are tied to interest rates. So as interest rates continue to increase, we expect cap rates to continue to increase as well. It's all part of a normal market cycle. Cap rates will eventually compress again and then go back up and then compress. It's just normal in the multifamily realm.
And how do you deal with all of these many changes with the assets that you currently have?
We try to plan for the worst case scenario. And then when the better scenarios happen, it affects our assets positively. If you under plan for them, then you end up in a scenario where you're not delivering as high of returns, or you're not doing as well in the asset as you should have been. And your equity partners or your limited partners are not very happy.
That's true. You want to make sure that they are still with you on all of these
Keep them
deals.
happy. Yes.
Right. Because
Under
then again,
promise,
they're going to
over-deliver.
be with you for like this deal, but like maybe other deals in the future as well.
Yes.
If you treat them right.
Yes. You want to under promise, over deliver to any of your passive investors. It'll keep them happy. It'll keep them returning. It's a long-term relationship. I don't want someone that's going to invest in our deal one time. I want them to continue investing, because it's much more cost-effective, easier, and efficient for me to have a long-term relationship with one investor than it is to have to go out and find a new investor every time we do a deal.
And as of now, what is the current return that you're seeing for all of these assets that you guys are managing? So
as of Q4 in 2022, we're seeing anywhere from a 12 to 15% IRR, with a 14-15% AAR, average annualized return. I'd say that's pretty standard. This is projected on a Class B value add asset on a 5-year hold.
And what are some other ways that you can make sure that these returns stay stable during these crazy times that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, I don't know that you can do anything to make sure the returns stay stable. You can project out with conservative assumptions. So for example, if I project that I'm only going to get $100 or $200 of rent after I renovate, but I know that the market calls for $400, that's probably a pretty conservative assumption, because I'm going to try to get $400, and let's say I get $300 or $250, I'm still over delivering on what I had projected out. So it leaves me a lot of wiggle room to be wrong in the negative direction.
So when you come up with all of these assumptions, what are some of the data that you use to back up those assumptions?
Yeah, so that's where we're looking to, we utilize a lot of AI technology. So we want to see what the hundreds of thousands of millions of data points are showing us in real time. So we invest into softwares that give us really good data with a high level of predictability. We also are doing research. We're talking to business leaders in the area. Brokers have a lot of really significant information. There's a lot of data sources like CoStar, Axiometrics, Yardi. There's many that will give you this kind of market data and market information that you can utilize.
And for someone that is starting and doesn't have that big of a team or that many assets that they are managing, what are some of the ways that they can still see that their assets are performing the way that they should?
Yeah, I would say that it's worthwhile investing into a data resource. If not, I would also ask your broker on the deal to provide you with, the CoStar or the Axio report or something like that. They're usually happy to provide that. That way you can see even comparatively to the market where your assets are performing.
Right. We want to make sure that we analyze every single aspect before you even start investing in that deal.
Yes, that's the name of the game, is analyze, analyze, analyze. And then when you're done, analyze some more.
Yeah, you want to triple check because in the end, this is going to be probably the source of income that you're going to go for.
Exactly.
But besides like your actual job. So
Absolutely.
If you want to create generational wealth, you also have to analyze every single day.
Put in the work. Yes.
That's true. Thank you so much, Veena. And thank you to our audience. So there you have it. There are multiple ways that you can still have enough data for you to analyze your deals before you even start investing on them. So see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.